You're about to learn how to finally overcome your hypochondria and free yourself from all the pointless worry of convincing yourself that you're sick, ill, or even dying. Listen, I know the pain of this problem. I went through it myself for most of my life. And here I'll be showing you how to naturally and effectively overcome your hypochondria and put this terrible worry to rest. So let's get to it. Hypochondria tends to be somewhat of an afterthought when it comes to treating anxiety. After all, aren't we supposed to worry about our health? Isn't it good to stay on top of our bodies and be alert for any alarming symptoms? If you suffer from hypochondria, then you probably know otherwise. Now, personally, I used to torture myself with thoughts of illness at even the slightest abnormality. Every time my glands would swell up, I swore it was a tumor in my lymph nodes. Every time I had a sharp pain, I was convinced, that it was an early sign of stroke or aneurysm. And things as ridiculous as gas pain, obviously signaled the start of a heart attack. Any kind of experience with night sweats convinced me that I somehow contracted HIV. I know this sounds ridiculous and sort of out there, but the fact is, people who suffer from hypochondria tend to overreact at the slightest, abnormality or symptoms that their body encounters. And all this worry over my health, this was all happening at the ripe age of 27, no less. 27, when the body is at its absolute peak performance, and I was inventing magical ways to convince myself I suddenly had HIV. It's ridiculous. And if you suffer from hypochondria, maybe you're doing the same. I remember, any kind of sexual experience, of course it would be protected, that I had during the height of my hypochondria was followed by days, if not weeks, of worry about how I must have contracted some sexually transmitted disease in some freakish accidental way. I would lose sleep over the worry until I finally cracked and visited a doctor about my concerns. And really, I'm not being honest enough here. I sort of had my doctor on speed dial. And every dry patch of skin was suspect. Each time my eyes would become red or irritated, I swore, my eyes must be deteriorating or just, taking that anxiety to the next level. Any new freckle was inspected for days under magnified mirrors. And heaven forbid I actually had a cold that lasted longer than a few days. It had to be pneumonia, you know? Does any of this sound familiar? Hypochondria, by definition, is an excessive preoccupation with one's health. That definition always strikes me as a little humorous because really, it just doesn't depict the severity of this problem. Hypochondria can really impair your day-to-day living because it completely immerses your brain with worry. You have no real scientific data backing your medical concerns, but all of a sudden you think that you know more than any other doctor out there. You must be dying, right? I mean, you just feel it, right? You just know and you can't get rid of this feeling like something has got to be wrong with you. And why can't you shake this worry away once and for all? Having hypochondria is like carrying around your worry everywhere you go. It weighs you down and steals your attention. You can't focus because you're so consumed with whatever life-threatening disease is around the corner. It becomes an obsession, a compulsion with avoiding sickness and death to the point where your lifestyle and relationships begin to suffer. And it escalates from mild concern or worry to full-blown OCD, which of course is obsessive compulsive disorder. So I'm here to tell you to stop the cycle of panic right here, take control, and put your worry down. The fact is, you're probably going to live for a very long time. And more than likely, you'll live to an average age of 80, and life will be fortunate to you every step of the way. The world is filled with billions of people, and if you find any comfort in statistical data, know that the chance of you catching some obscure disease or health problem is super minuscule so long as you're not putting yourself in the position in the first place. And actually, people with high levels of anxiety are the most meticulous about taking care of themselves, seeing a doctor once a year, and taking steps towards improving their health. In fact, you just watching this video alone is enough to tell me that you care about your own well-being. Now, here are some strategies for overcoming hypochondria. And the first is to just ignore it. And what I mean by that is, Overthinking is one of the fastest ways to feed your hypochondriac anxieties. Always fall back to the principles that you are healthy. You take precautions, see a doctor once a year, try to eat healthy, exercise, and that's all it takes to have the odds way in your favor. You know at this point you have hypochondria. Work to determine real symptoms from those which your mind creates. And yes, if you focus on a pain in your side, your mind will invent that pain in your side. Think positively and rest assured that you're healthy. If rationalization doesn't work, toss aside all doubts and worry on the principle that they're negative thoughts. Counterbalance them with positive thoughts about your health. Don't look up symptoms online. I can't tell you how many hypochondriacs get themselves into trouble by trying to diagnose their own problem, quote unquote. Symptoms are shared by so many different colds, allergies, illnesses, diseases that you can easily sneeze and convince yourself that you have SARS or swine flu after surfing on WebMD for a little bit. So do yourself a favor and leave the diagnosis up to a professional. If you must call a doctor because your worry is overwhelming, then do so. But do not go online searching for what you think you have. You'll always automatically target the worst case scenario. Now let me share a little personal story here, and I hope it's not way too much information for you. It's a little embarrassing. One time I had kind of a little bit of a lump underneath my left breast, and of course, I went right to WebMD and self-diagnosed, breast cancer. And I'm a man, and breast cancer in men is extremely, extremely rare. But of course, like I felt this slight little lump, whatever. I started freaking out. I'm looking up every single possibility on WebMD, and it had to be, breast cancer. It turned out to just be like a minor infection, and it went away in like a couple of days. But I created this huge panic attack after determining I must have this severe worst case scenario. My point is, you know better. You should avoid websites that will lead you to only freak out worse. Cognitive behavioral therapy is another great option for you. And cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is the process of forcing exposure to your anxiety and then learning how to react appropriately. It's basically like facing your fear head on. You learn a skill, and that skill is how to deal with your anxiety positively. So if you have a constant fear of germs, for example, you'd make it a point to expose yourself to minor germy situations and consciously not freak out. With hypochondria, you force yourself not to call your doctor every day or engage in other activities or actions which feed the anxiety. And as uncomfortable as it may be at first, over time, you get used to the idea of not overreacting with every health-related blip on the radar. And this works best with a therapist who, has studied professionally how to apply cognitive behavioral therapy. Overcoming general anxiety is one of the most important steps to this process. And the true secret to defeating your hypochondria is understanding all of your anxiety triggers and knowing how to tackle each one precisely. And you can do that right now by watching a free anxiety tactics video at www.stop-anxiety-panic-attack.com. And it covers topics like how to prevent and stop panic attacks, overcoming social phobias, changing your negative thoughts into positive ones, how to handle and conquer your fears, building self-esteem, dealing with depression, and so much more. And it's totally free, and it gives you everything you'll need to start feeling improvement every single day. Take positive action right now. Your hypochondria won't go away until you deal with the root cause of the problem, general anxiety. And the fact is, you're upset, and you don't have to feel that way. So why spend another day feeling the drain of hypochondria? Check out the free video at the site and start feeling better in minutes. That's it for today, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.